time ever, an object from interstellar space has been observed to visit our solar system.
In October 2017, astronomers discovered something that shook the scientific world to its core. An object from another star system entered our cosmic neighborhood, moving in ways that defied everything we thought we knew about space. They called it Oumuamua, the messenger from afar. For years, scientists believed it was gone forever, racing toward the darkness beyond our solar system. But now, Neil deGrasse Tyson has made a stunning announcement that changes everything. What if Oumuamua never really left? What if it's been watching us this entire time? And what it brought back with it could rewrite our understanding of life in the universe. But first, let's go back to where this cosmic mystery began, the stranger that started it all. On October 19, 2017, astronomer Robert Werrick was doing routine work at the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii when something caught his eye. Moving across the starfield was an object unlike anything he'd ever seen. It wasn't following the predictable path of an asteroid or comet from our solar system. Instead, it was racing through space on a trajectory that could only mean one thing. This visitor came from the stars. The discovery sent shockwaves through the astronomical community. For the first time in human history, we had confirmed evidence of an interstellar traveler passing through our cosmic backyard. The object was officially designated Moai 2017 U1, but Hawaiian astronomers gave it a more poetic name, Oumuamua, meaning scout, or messenger from afar. What made Oumuamua so extraordinary wasn't just its origin. The object's shape was completely bizarre, roughly 10 times longer than it was wide, resembling a giant space cigar tumbling end over end every 7.3 hours. Combining the images from the FORS, led by Karen Meach of the Institute for Astronomy in Hawaii, found that Oumuamua varies in brightness by a factor of 10 as it spins on its axis every 7.3 hours. Nothing in our solar system looked like this elongated visitor. Most asteroids and comets are roughly spherical or potato-shaped, formed by the gentle gravitational forces that shaped objects in our local neighborhood. But Oumuamua's extreme proportions suggested it had formed under very different conditions, possibly in the violent environment around a distant star. As telescopes around the world turned to study this cosmic messenger, more puzzles emerged. The object appeared to be dark red in color, similar to objects in the outer reaches of our solar system that have been bombarded by cosmic rays for millions of years. Yet, unlike comets, which develop bright tails when heated by the sun, Oumuamua remained stubbornly tailless even as it approached our star. As Oumuamua rounded the sun and began its journey back toward interstellar space, astronomers noticed something that shouldn't have been possible. The object was accelerating, not slowing down as expected, but actually speeding up as it moved away from the sun's gravitational pull. On the 27th of June 2018, astronomers reported a non-gravitational acceleration to Oumuamua's trajectory, potentially consistent with a push from solar radiation pressure. The resulting change in velocity during the period when it was near its closest approach to the sun summed to about 17 meters. This discovery turned the scientific world upside down. Objects in space follow predictable paths based on gravity. When something moves in a non-gravitational way, it means there's an active force pushing or pulling it. But what could that force be? Scientists scrambled to find explanations. Some suggested that Oumuamua might be releasing gas like a comet, creating thrust as invisible jets of material shot into space. But there was no evidence of a comet-like tail or atmosphere around the object. Others proposed that sunlight itself might be pushing against Oumuamua's surface, but calculations showed the object would need to be incredibly lightweight and reflective for this to work. Dr. Avi Loeb from Harvard University proposed the most controversial explanation of all, Dr. Avi Loeb's theory. He has argued that the acceleration of Oumuamua might be attributed to its being a solar sail, a very thin, lightweight structure propelled by starlight. In other words, Oumuamua might not be a natural object at all, but rather an artificial probe sent by an alien civilization. The scientific community was divided. Most researchers preferred natural explanations, no matter how unlikely they seemed. But Loeb's suggestion refused to go away, especially as conventional theories failed to fully explain Oumuamua's behavior. Neil deGrasse Tyson, America's most trusted voice in astrophysics, weighed in on the mystery. If something is moving non-gravitationally, something's in charge of it that's not gravity. Neil deGrasse Tyson on the first interstellar visitor. His words carried weight because Tyson had always been skeptical of alien explanations for unexplained phenomena. If he was acknowledging that something was actively controlling Oumuamua's movement, it meant the mystery was deeper than anyone had imagined. But as Oumuamua disappeared into the darkness, most scientists assumed the story was over. They were wrong. The hydrogen mystery and new discoveries. For years after Oumuamua's departure, scientists continued studying the data, hoping to solve the acceleration mystery once and for all. In 2023, a team led by researcher Darryl Seligman published what they believed to be the final answer. The team of researchers offers a simple explanation. The acceleration of Oumuamua was given by hydrogen released during the flight through our planetary system. According to their theory, Oumuamua was essentially a dirty snowball from interstellar space. As cosmic rays bombarded it during its million-year journey between stars, they broke apart water molecules trapped inside, creating pockets of hydrogen gas. When Oumuamua approached our sun, this hydrogen began to escape, creating invisible jets that pushed the object forward. It seemed like a reasonable explanation until other scientists began finding holes in the theory. The hydrogen outgassing model required very specific conditions that seemed unlikely for an object that had been traveling through space for eons. Moreover, working with Bergner, Seligman and colleagues have identified 6 other comets that lack an observable coma but demonstrate small non-gravitational accelerations. The discovery of these dark comets suggested that Oumuamua might not be unique after all. But it also raised new questions. Were these dark comets natural phenomena? Or could some of them be artificial objects masquerading as space rocks? Dr. Avi Loeb remained skeptical of the hydrogen theory. The final attempt to shove Oumuamua's anomalies under the carpet of traditional thinking was made by a team of researchers led by Darryl Seligman, who published a paper in December 2024 in the prestigious journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. Loeb argued that the hydrogen explanation was just another attempt to force Oumuamua into a natural category, when the evidence might be pointing towards something far more extraordinary. Meanwhile, new interstellar visitors were being discovered. This image, taken with a small telescope on the night of July 1, 2025, shows what was then known as the Candidate Interstellar Object A11PI3Z, which has since been renamed 3I Atlas due to its confirmed interstellar nature. Each new discovery added to our understanding of interstellar space, but also highlighted how little we truly knew about objects traveling between the stars. Throughout 2024 and early 2025, rumors had been circulating in astronomical circles about unusual detections in deep space. Scientists now predict that a cluster of interstellar objects could pass through the solar system in 2024, and data indicate Oumuamua might be among them. Most experts dismissed these claims as wishful thinking or misidentified observations. But then came the confirmation that nobody expected. Though mainstream science was loath to go down that path, many quietly wondered, what if he's right? Now, in mid-2025, tracking stations around several nations have spotted uncharacteristic movement from the part of space where Oumuamua was last known to be drifting. The discovery was initially kept quiet while scientists double and triple checked their observations. The object they were tracking had the same unusual shape, the same tumbling motion, and the same mysterious acceleration that had made Oumuamua famous. But according to all known laws of physics, it should have been light years away by now, continuing its journey toward another star system. Neil deGrasse Tyson was among the first scientists briefed on the classified observations. When he finally went public with the information, his announcement sent ripples through both the scientific community and the general public. In a groundbreaking revelation, renowned astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has released declassified images of Oumuamua, the first interstellar object observed passing through our solar system. These images, previously classified due to their potential implications for national security. The declassified images showed not one object, but a formation of several elongated bodies moving in apparent coordination through the outer regions of our solar system. Their movement patterns defied conventional explanations. These weren't random pieces of space debris following predictable orbital paths. Instead, they seemed to be moving with purpose, adjusting their positions relative to each other in ways that suggested active control. What scientists observed next challenged every assumption about natural celestial mechanics. The formation flight. As observatories around the world turned their instruments toward the returning formation, a picture began to emerge that was both beautiful and deeply unsettling. The objects were maintaining precise distances from each other, creating geometric patterns that shifted and evolved as they moved through space. The formation consisted of Oumuamua at the center, surrounded by at least 6 smaller objects of varying sizes. Unlike random asteroid clusters held together by weak gravitational forces, these objects moved with mathematical precision. They would spread apart in complex spirals, then contract back into tight formations, all while maintaining their general trajectory through the solar system. Most disturbing was their apparent awareness of our observation attempts. When radio telescopes were pointed in their direction, the formation would subtly alter its configuration. When space-based infrared telescopes tried to measure their heat signatures, the objects seemed to adjust their orientation to minimize detectability. It was as if they knew they were being watched and were responding accordingly. The objects also displayed unusual interactions with solar radiation and magnetic fields. Unlike normal asteroids or comets, which interact with the solar wind in predictable ways, these visitors seemed to manipulate electromagnetic forces around them. Sensitive magnetometers detected ripples in the local magnetic field as the formation passed, creating patterns that resembled communication signals more than natural phenomena. Ground-based observatories detected something even more extraordinary. The objects appeared to be exchanging brief, focused beams of energy between each other, flashes of light so brief and precise that they could only be detected by the most sensitive instruments. The pattern of these exchanges suggested a form of communication or coordination taking place in real time across the formation. Dr. Tyson cautioned against jumping to conclusions, but he couldn't hide his fascination with the observations. In interviews, he emphasized that while extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, the behavior they were witnessing fell outside all known natural phenomena. Something was actively controlling these objects, and that something possessed technology far beyond human capabilities. The most unsettling aspect of the returned formation was their complete indifference to Earth itself. Despite all the attention focused on them, the objects showed no interest in our planet or its inhabitants. This cosmic indifference was perhaps more frightening than overt hostility would have been. The formation maintained its distance from the inner solar system, neither approaching Earth nor making any apparent attempt to communicate with us. When human-designed radio messages were broadcast toward them, there was no response. When attempts were made to send probe missions in their direction, the formation simply adjusted course to maintain its preferred distance. The objects seemed far more interested in studying the gravitational fields and magnetic signatures of our solar system's larger bodies. They made precise passes near Jupiter and Saturn, apparently measuring these giant planets' electromagnetic properties with instruments we couldn't detect. This scientific detachment was both reassuring and terrifying. Reassuring because it suggested the visitors had no hostile intentions toward humanity. Terrifying because it implied that we might be as irrelevant to them as bacteria in a petri dish are to human scientists. Some researchers proposed that the formation might be part of a vast galactic survey program, with robotic probes systematically visiting star systems throughout the galaxy to gather data. Others suggested they might be remnants of an ancient civilization, continuing their mission long after their creators had vanished. The object's advanced capabilities became more apparent with each observation. They demonstrated the ability to adjust their trajectories without any visible propulsion system, suggesting mastery of physics principles that human science hadn't yet discovered. They maintained perfect formation coordination across distances of thousands of kilometers, implying communication methods that operated faster than light. Evidence began mounting that these visitors were not just observers, but active learners adapting to our solar system. The learning machines. As weeks turned into months, astronomers noticed subtle changes in the formation's behavior. The objects began making more complex maneuvers, as if they were testing different approaches to navigation through our solar system's gravitational environment. They would execute perfect spiral patterns around invisible points in space, then suddenly shift to linear trajectories that took them past multiple planetary moons in single passes. The precision of these maneuvers suggested that the objects were using our solar system as a vast laboratory, experimenting with different techniques for moving through complex gravitational fields. Each maneuver seemed more sophisticated than the last, as if they were incorporating lessons learned from previous experiments. Radio telescope operators reported unusual patterns in the background electromagnetic noise whenever the formation was in their observation field. The patterns were too complex to be random, but too alien to be easily decoded. Some researchers theorized that the objects were conducting passive scans of human communication systems, learning about our technology and possibly our languages. The formation also began demonstrating new capabilities that hadn't been observed during Oumuamua's first visit. Individual objects would occasionally separate from the group, execute complex solo maneuvers, then rejoin the formation in different positions. These separations seemed to serve no obvious navigational purpose, suggesting they might be tests or demonstrations of individual object capabilities. By late 2025, the weight of evidence had become impossible to ignore. The returned formation displayed characteristics that no known natural phenomenon could explain. Their coordinated movements, apparent communication systems, adaptive behavior, and indifference to human contact all pointed toward one conclusion that traditional science had been reluctant to accept. Dr. Neil DeGrasse Tyson, known for his skeptical approach to extraordinary claims, found himself in the unprecedented position of having to acknowledge what the data was telling him. In a historic press conference, he stated that while he remained committed to finding natural explanations for cosmic phenomena, the behavior of the Oumuamua formation had crossed the threshold from mysterious to potentially artificial. The implications of this acknowledgement rippled through multiple fields of study. Astrobiologists suddenly found themselves studying real-time examples of non-terrestrial technology rather than theoretical possibilities. The formation's capabilities suggested mastery of physics principles that human science was only beginning to theoretically explore. Their apparent faster-than-light communication, gravity-defying maneuvers, and seamless coordination across vast distances implied technologies that could revolutionize human civilization if we could understand them. But understanding seemed to be entirely at the visitor's discretion. Despite extensive efforts to establish communication, the objects maintained their cosmic silence. They continued their survey activities with single-minded focus, treating human attempts at contact as irrelevant background noise. The more data scientists collected about the returned formation, the clearer it became that Oumuamua and its companions were not isolated visitors. Analysis of their trajectories and timing suggested they were part of a much larger network of objects moving through our galaxy. This realization prompted scientists to re-examine astronomical data from the past decades, looking for signs of similar objects that might have been misidentified or overlooked. The results were startling. Dozens of previously unexplained observations suddenly made sense when viewed as potential encounters with similar artificial objects. Radio telescope archives contained signals that had been dismissed as equipment malfunction or natural interference. Optical telescope images showed objects with unusual movement patterns that had been catalogued as measurement errors. Satellite tracking systems had detected objects in impossible orbits that had been explained away as data corruption. After months of systematic survey activities, the Oumuamua formation began exhibiting new behaviors that caught astronomers completely off guard. The objects started moving in increasingly complex patterns, creating three-dimensional geometric forms in space that served no apparent navigational purpose. These formations were beautiful, mathematical, and clearly artificial, like cosmic artwork being painted across the void. The purpose of these geometric displays became clearer when radio telescopes detected synchronized energy pulses being emitted from the formation. The pulses were brief, but incredibly powerful, focused into narrow beams aimed towards specific regions of interstellar space. The direction and timing of these transmissions suggested the objects were reporting their findings to receivers located light years away. The transmission sequences lasted for several weeks, with different combinations of objects taking turns broadcasting toward various stellar regions. The complexity and duration of these communications suggested that an enormous amount of data was being transmitted, detailed information about every planet, moon, asteroid, and possibly even Earth's biosphere and human civilization. As the transmissions neared completion, the formation began to reconfigure itself for departure. The objects drew closer together, forming a tight cluster that would allow them to coordinate their exit from the solar system. Their movements became more purposeful and direct, no longer interested in detailed observations, but focused entirely on preparation for their journey to whatever destination awaited them. The departure of the Oumuamua formation left humanity forever changed. We now know with certainty that we are not alone in the universe, and that advanced civilizations possess technology far beyond our current understanding. The Silent Watchers have completed their survey and departed, but their visit has opened our eyes to possibilities we never imagined. What do you think their survey revealed about humanity? Share your thoughts below.